So many times when a project is kicked off, you don't necessarily have a CAD file to work with, and that's okay. We're going to create one today. So you can see here, we've got an email with a little bit of information on our site. Let's go ahead and download this. And what this is just a screenshot of a drawing. And here's what we have to work with. Our goal today is to take this little bit of information and turn it into a CAD drawing that we can use for any kind of CAD program. So let's go ahead and go to CADMapper.com. If you haven't been here before, go ahead and do get started creating a file. If you have, sign in. And so what we need to do is find our site specifically. Now we've already referenced it in Google Maps, and this is more for just a visual reference. So in CADMapper, we can search for our location. We know it's Memorial Drive in Houston, Texas. So let's start with that, and that'll put us on some arbitrary point on Memorial Drive. So let's zoom out and look at downtown Houston here. Here's our site generally over here. So in CADMapper, can kind of start to hone in. And so CADMapper makes it a little bit more difficult to find your site. If you don't know the coordinates specifically and can't just plug them in, you're gonna have to do a little back and forth to really hone in on what exactly you're looking at. CADMapper is just a source that gives you vector information, so you can't overlay a satellite image to really reference like you can on Google Maps. So this is about what we're looking at right here. We zoom in a little bit more, we can kind of start to see buildings, we can see parks, we can see other bigger buildings. And so this is just kind of what we have to work with right now. So the thing with CADMapper is that it is free, but only up to 1 square kilometer of information. So what I like to do is maximize the total area that you have to work with and sort of try to capture the entirety of the site. Important thing with this is even though when we look back at our screenshot file here, we have this red line, that's what they want. Always give more information than you need to. And the reason for that, it might be obvious, but if you need that information in the future, you have it. You want to think about in terms of diagrams and graphics, and maybe you want to zoom way out of your site later to do some specific research. It's better to have it and not need it than to not have it and then need it in the future for something. So maximize the map size. And then let's just go down the list here. So select your design program. I use AutoCAD. Some people use Rhino, SketchUp, Illustrator. There's a number of other programs that you can use. I'm an AutoCAD guy. I use AutoCAD and Revit almost exclusively. So depending on the program that you're using, go ahead and make your selection. I've got AutoCAD here. And so this is important here, the include. So we want to include 3D buildings because it's just more information that we can use if we need it or not. Topography, you want to tick on topography. That's really, really important because the whole point of this sort of exercise is to create a 3D topographical file that you can work with to create the base for your design. So go ahead and select topography and then do contours every, let's do 4 meters because the lower the number, the more contours you're going to have, which is just more information. And we want as much information as we can get out of this file. So just do 4. And then row geometry, you can leave center lines, but I actually like to do outlines, and I'll show you why. By default, I think these numbers are all 8 and then 5. I changed them to 10, 8, 6, and 4. And that's to help me distinguish different types of roads in the CAD file once it's generated. If everything looks good to go ahead and click Create a File. You can see we have a 3D axo view, we have 2D view, and we have topography. Really, we just want to focus on the 2D view and the topography. But what this allows you to do is you can download it into a package. So go ahead and hit download. Once we've opened up the CADMapper file and brought it straight into AutoCAD, we haven't touched it, we haven't changed anything, we've just simply looked at it. We want to verify the units, and we need to convert from metric to imperial. So CADMapper exports by default to meters, and we simply just want to convert that to feet. So let's zoom in on a spot here. We know that all of these roadways, we gave specific measurements. So we said minor roadways get a value of 6 meters. Let's take the distance, DIST, and measure from one point to the other. and we can see that we're given a distance of 6 meters. 1 meter is 3.28084 feet. So we said those roads were 6 meters. So when we convert them, when we scale the drawing, we want to make sure those roads are reading as 19.685 feet. So here's how we can do that. First thing we want to do is go ahead and type in units to verify. And we actually want to change this to architectural, and then we'll say inches. So once we've checked our units, we can go up here, go ahead and type PL for polyline, and make that polyline a distance of 6. And so we want them to be 19.685 feet. Under that 6-inch line, go ahead and draw another line, 19.685 feet. Hit enter. And so basically we want this, which is the current width of these roads, to be this distance. I'm going to tell you about a really useful command that you can use to quickly scale parts of your drawing. And that command is called align. So let's go ahead and type in align. We'll select all of our objects, but since we're scaling this line here to be the same distance as this line, let's deselect that line. Hit enter. Now it says specify the first source point. So we want to take this point and say this is where it's going to start. And then for the second source point, we want to say this point is going to be a distance of this. So that's all we need. We just need 2 points because it's just a 2D alignment. And it asks about scaling objects. So you want to hit yes. And so what that did is you can double check if you select one line. It took that short line and made it the same distance as this other line. And so since we had everything else selected, it scaled those parts of the drawing as well. So now, if we want to double check, let's go back to wherever we were referencing from earlier. Say from here to here. Now we're looking at a distance of 19 feet, 8 1/4 inches, which is about this right there. So now all of the elements in the drawing are scaled properly. We can start separating them out into external references. Let's type in LA for layer. We can see that CADMapper has separated certain elements into specific layers. We've got buildings, contours, outlines, parks, topography. Some of these other ones we're not too concerned with right now. So basically what we want to do is we want to take all those layers and turn them into separate drawings, separate CAD drawings. The reason that we want to do that is that's kind of just standard practice for design documentation type work. It allows for multiple people to work on kind of one project at the same time. So if you have 6 layers and there's 6 separate drawings, that means 6 people can work on one project at one time. So it'll help you in the future not only keep your files more organized, but kind of set yourself up to understand the conventions of being a CAD designer and kind of creating a system that multiple people can work with. So here's how I quickly separate all the elements that we're given into separate drawings. So if we want to type in LA for layer, and let's freeze everything, and we'll start with this first layer at the top here, buildings, unfreeze, select all, enter, and you want to do Control-Shift-C. Make sure you hit that shift because that turns it into a copy with base. The base is important because that's going to be your origin point. That's going to allow you to line up all of your drawings to the same point so that when all the layers come back in together, they're going to be lined up properly. So copy with base, we're going to specify the origin as 0, 0, 0, and then we're going to go ahead and create a new drawing and say Control-V, copy clip, and then we're going to type in 0, 0, 0, zoom all, and here's our buildings. And so all we do is save as, I'll call this first site drawing 3500 site buildings. So that's that. All your buildings exist on this drawing. Want to go back to that primary file. We'll unfreeze contours, freeze buildings, and do the same exact system again. Select all, enter, Control-Shift-C, copy with base, 0, 0, 0 for the origin. Create a new file, Control-V, 0, 0, 0. Zoom all, and here's your contours. So now go ahead and do save as 3500 site contours. And so basically you want to repeat that for all the layers in your drawing. So we want to make like one master site file. And so go ahead and do new drawing. XA, which stands for X reference attach. And we just want to start bringing all of these individual drawings back into this one drawing that we're creating now. So do site buildings open. Reference type is an overlay, inches, and scale factor of 1:1 scale. Specify the origin or insertion point as 0, 0, 0. We can zoom out, and here's all of our buildings. And just repeat that process for all of your external references. All right, so now that all of our drawings are in this one master drawing, let's go ahead and save it as 3500 site master. And we can orbit around. We can take a quick look and see what we have to work with. We can look at shades of gray. And it's basically the same initial file that we had to work with, but now all the information is separated. So that, say, you have somebody who wants to work on the topography, they can open this drawing and work on the topography by itself. Or if you have somebody that wants to work on these buildings, you can open that drawing by itself. So the way that these XRefs work is if somebody was to update an individual X reference, it's going to ask you on the master plan if you would like to reflect those changes. So for example, let's go into this site one and let's just draw a bunch of crazy lines. Somebody came in here and just drew a bunch of lines everywhere. You're gonna save. And so when you go back to the site master plan, it's gonna ask you, external references changed. Do you wanna reload it? Say yes. And so now you can see that a bunch of lines have been drawn on that external reference. So this whole system of X references is just kind of standard for conventional design documentation type work. I just wanted to share it with you guys in case you found it useful. If you did, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any suggestions or any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. It helps me to help you. So give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with any future tutorials that I'm giving. And I'll catch you later.